Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Serge.
And my name is James.
It's Monday and, I'm supposed to do this in the Geordie accent again.
No, please don't
FPL.
do a Geordie accent.
And people are wondering why. It's because I'm trying to get that sponsorship money.
You said to me about you should start listening back to the pods more.
Yeah.
May I recommend you don't listen to the Patreon podcast last week where you attempted to do a Geordie accent, mate.
I know this though about me. Like with quite a lot of accents, Scouse, Scottish, whatever, Welsh even. I'm in a bit of denial about how bad they are. I actually think they're quite good. Geordie, I have no illusion about how bad my Geordie accent is. I can't even do it.
No, I know.
I need help.
We are not going to talk about the Newcastle takeover today because we're going to talk about it on a full podcast exclusive to that subject tomorrow. We've obviously, unusually for us, got no games to review because it's been the interlull.
It has. There has been football, obviously, all the international football. And whilst we're not going to be reviewing the League of Nations final or whatever it was.
No, although we could have a podcast on Mbappe's goal last night.
I haven't seen it, so...
Good? No, well, they finished it well, but by law it's correct that it's onside, but he's offside.
Oh, okay. I'll look back at some highlights, I'm sure, soon.
Cracking second half. Very good.
I mean, the main takeaway from the international football, if we wrap that up, is going to be about flags. We'll talk about it in a sec. Quite a number of people have been interested in how you are so concrete in your transfer plan up to Gameweek 16 with the Gameweek 16 wildcard. And myself included, to be honest, we haven't spoken about it off air that much. But when we did do the pod last week, and you mentioned that you know all your transfers all the way up to Gameweek 16.
Not quite.
But you know roughly what your direction of travel is.
And problems will arise, there's no doubt about it.
The follow-up question would have been, okay, what are they? But I think we needed... That wasn't really the time to start mapping it out without any context. So we're definitely going to do that. And of course, lovely listeners, you have sent in some questions on Twitter, which we will get to as well. So no football to review, but plenty to talk about. Flags, firstly, because I feel like we can cover this off quite easily.
Go on.
I don't care. I'm putting no stall in it at all, to be honest with you, because I did see a few tweets and some were quite interesting with the number of flags that are out there. And I've got quite a lot of players that are in that boat. Rudiger, for example.
I don't think Rudiger is not even flagged.
Oh, he's not anymore.
But he was... He didn't train for Germany at the weekend, but they think he's going to play this midweek. So it's not a problem.
Trent obviously is still flagged, but he originally always was going to come back this weekend. Lukaku I don't own. Rafinha I do own, and he's potentially not going to be coming back because of the Brazil issue and so on. So there are all sorts of things going on. I just look at it with, you know what my kids would say? Have you ever played the game Among Us? Do you know the game Among Us? A little computer game? No, we're showing
it's like something off the Squid Games or something.
No, it was prior to. It was all the rage. Everyone will know Among Us. But in Among Us, the way you play the game is there's one person, there's a group of like 8. One of them is a killer and has to kill all the other 7 people, and the other 7 are just regular crewmates. It's called Among Us because Among Us there is one killer. And they say sus. Like if someone's behaving a little bit dodgy and you think that they might be the killer, you have to vote for the person every 5 minutes.
I remember sus from school. Yeah,
sus. Yeah, you can be like, so people call each other sus. So like my kids will be like, "Dad, you're being a bit sus here." That's all Among Us.
Bait was an alternative. Oh, you're so bait, mate.
Yeah, man. But sus is the one, and all these flags. Basically, there's only one. They're just sus.
They're bait.
Mate. They're sus. Among Us sus, mate. I don't read anything into them until the last couple of days. So Friday is when I'll actually pay attention to any kind of injury news.
No, in terms of actual flags, I've looked at some of the more recent ones added to the official game. Without naming the player, there's an Icelandic player in the Premier League who's suddenly been given a red flag because he's been not named in the 25-man Premier League squad. That's happened in the last day or so. I don't know why that's happened. Raphael Varane got injured for Manchester United, for France last night. Yep. And it looked like a possible hamstring injury. It was he kind of intercepted a pass, pulled up straight away.
Ouch.
So that's a big problem. That's a legit one. Obviously, Harry Maguire's a doubt going into that fixture with Leicester at the weekend. So suddenly they might be looking at like Lindelof and Bailly at centre-back against Jamie Vardy and co. Lukaku's got muscle fatigue, which, I mean, what does that mean? I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
He's got muscle fatigue, right? Well, he's got till Saturday evening to recover from muscle fatigue.
Yeah.
I'm not
Get yourself down the spa, Romelu.
Trincao,
cheeky little massage.
I think Trincao passed positive for COVID.
Oh dear.
So he's probably out for Wolves, but then he might have come out the team anyway. Otherwise, it's all rumours. And there's more shit that's going to happen in the next couple of days. So I wouldn't overly think it. Obviously, the big story is with the South American players. So it looks like none of them are going to return early. So presumably, nearly all of them are out of game week 8. I think exception to the rule is probably Emi Martinez, which we've spoken about on one of the pods we did last week, saying, look, Villa have got a home game. He can probably come back. They'll ask him, how you feeling? He goes, yeah, fine, I'm okay. He's a goalkeeper, it's okay. The reason that's different for Alisson is Liverpool have a 12:30 kickoff and it's away from home. And obviously all the players will travel down to Watford the day before the game. That's why I think there's a difference between those two particular individuals. I think if Liverpool had a home game this Saturday, I think it's possible that Alisson might have been involved. Jurgen Klopp said he won't be at Watford. Same applies to Fabinho. Obviously, Roberto Firmino, to clarify from last week's podcast, is not in the Brazil squad. I assume most of the South Americans are not going to play. That includes, for a lot of people, probably Rafinha. But there's a lot of people who think Rafinha might just rock up at Southampton and play like 45 minutes or so, and it is possible. Personally, if you've got Rafinha like I have, there's no intention to sell him because he's going to play against Marcel the following week and then Jan Ulis or Brandon Williams the week after. So I don't really want to sell Rafinha, thank you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, no stress on these flags. And I think we haven't got the full information picture on these South American players. I mean, Brazil have won every game in qualifying. Is it possible they make a decision and go, do you know what, we're done here? Go. I find that extremely unlikely.
Yeah, I don't particularly think they've got the best relationship with like the Premier League or FA or whatever that they want to be doing them any favours. I don't particularly see that. But
well, I think we can probably expect next month, because this has come around again.
Yeah,
we can expect lots of international injuries next month. That are, you know what I mean by international injuries. The old Sir Alex Ferguson, Ryan Giggs trick.
Bit of a strain.
Like, sod it, you ain't going. Particularly in the case, like I said, these Brazilian players, they've qualified basically. So if you're going to be missing Premier League games for that, I think foot's going to go down a little bit, isn't it? Yeah,
indeed.
I want to talk about my wildcard idea, because prior to game week 7, I obviously looked. I had Ayling flagged, Trent flagged, another defender, Luke Shaw, flagged as well. And you're looking at all of a sudden going, should I pull the wild card here? And looked at it in real detail, and I'd kind of always been planning from the start, shall I do it for the Chelsea period? And I was looking at it and going, well, I can get Lukaku and Rudiger. I've got Rudiger. I can get Lukaku. The whole wild card in for Chelsea thing, one extra player? No. I was always looking at 15. But the conclusion I came looking at it was that I now intend to wildcard in game week 16. And that's because although United and Man City's fixtures really swing in 15, for example, United have this brilliant run we're well aware of for about 10 game weeks from game week 15. And Man City suddenly walk into Watford away, following let's say a challenging period of fixtures for Man City. You could argue they've got the two most difficult fixtures of their season already out the way, in Chelsea away and Liverpool away. But a more challenging set of fixtures. They then have a brilliant Christmas. But there's a number of teams I'd be interested in for Christmas who have bad game week 15s. For example, Arsenal go to Everton. It's not a great fixture. They've got a brilliant 16 to 20. West Ham have a good 16 to 20. They've got Chelsea at home. Crystal Palace go to Manchester United in game week 15. They've got a very good 16 to 20. So there's a number of swings of teams that I'm interested in where actually 15 is not the right entry point. Plus, there's ownership of players that I am going to have who it's the end of the run. Most notably Tottenham, who I own none of at the moment, but I do want to get Son and Harry Kane in the near future. They have Norwich at home in 15, then a fairly grim-looking Christmas. And that's why, just on closer inspection, I've decided probably 16 is better for me. Leeds, another one. They've got Brentford at home in 15, awful 16. I've currently got 2 of their players. Newcastle, who I don't have any players, but they've got a really kind of good 13 to 15. And at that point, I might be going in real short-term punts, right? Onto them and then off. They've got a horrendous Christmas. Wolves have got a horrendous Christmas. And that's why at the moment I think I'm landing on 16. But I'm constantly in the, if I've got too many problems, let's do it now.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like I have. Like this week, in terms of transfer for me this week, it's probably dependent on Luke Ayling's fitness, which I haven't got the information yet. Although I did manage to find out that Luke Ayling was in a restaurant the other night and did pay for a couple who had got engaged in a restaurant. He paid for their bill.
That's nice.
But I don't know if he's fit or not, so that's no good. Because if he's fit, I don't intend to be using him or starting him much, but they've got a really good run of fixtures leads, as said, up until 16, so he could sit on the bench. But if he's going to be out for 3-4 weeks, I'm probably beginning to need the cover, because my other cover is Matt Lowton. I don't want to play Matt Lowton this week. He's got Man City away, right? We already know that's finishing 5-0, as Johnny and Jack will probably confirm on Clash of the Correspondents on Thursday. So I may need defensive reinforcement. I've got 1.1 million in the bank. I could go, right, let's go Ayling, Livramento. I could go Ayling up to Laporte, Ayling up to Christensen. What I really want to do is Ayling's fit and move Shaw to Cancelo or Azpilicueta is probably more what I want to do. And then I've got a kind of structured idea, a little bit what you said in terms of the direction that I'm heading towards transfers. And that surrounds around wanting to move the formation to 3 up front. At the moment, I've only got Antonio and Lukaku. I want the third forward to be Tony. Now, I'm not desperate to get Tony this week. He's got Chelsea at home. I'd be quite happy to get him next week for Leicester at home, but I'm not desperate to get him for Leicester at home. But they've got a good run of fixtures, Brentford, up till, guess what? Gameweek 16, ironically, for them. They're one where it doesn't switch nicely for me. But then they haven't got a great Christmas, particularly Brentford. But I think Tony's showing up as great value as the third forward spot. But to open up the money to get Tony, I'm going to need to drop one of my midfielders down in price. And the one that interests me is Mbeumo.
Yeah,
He's probably looking at 2 Brighton attackers, ironically.
I had exactly the same dilemma at the moment when I was looking at whether or not I wanted to wildcard. It came down to which positions would I be happy to move on. So right now, I have 1 City, 1 Chelsea and Trent. So Rudiger, Cancelo, Trent. They're as good as it gets from the 3, so nothing moving there. But I want to move on my goalkeeper. And that's relevant because my 4th defender is Ben White. Now, if I was given free slate, 4.5 million for any goalkeeper, I'd probably get Ramsdale.
You get the 4.6 Aaron Ramsdale.
Well, he's 6 now, is he?
Yeah, 4.6.
Fine. But I don't really want to because I've got Ben White sitting there at 4.4. Is Ramsdale really going to outscore Ben White in save points and BPS? Not enough that I'd give a shit to move it on. And also, I'd actually quite like Emi Martinez because I think he's a set and forget and he's really good at picking up the save points and BPS. If I've got the money, I don't mind going to Martinez.
So what have you got, Sarr?
No, I've got Sanchez at Brighton right now.
I'd leave it, Suj.
Yeah, it's luxury, right? Completely. Yeah. However, if I move up to Martinez, I keep my backline the same. The other one is my 5th defender, Brandon Williams. I could move him on in a wild card where Livramento, what for? It's going to be 3rd sub. My midfield at the moment is Salah, Rafinha. If I was to wildcard, those 2 are going nowhere.
Yep.
I've got Jota. I would probably move on. I've got Yves Bissouma. I would probably move on. And Conor Gallagher, I probably wouldn't move on.
Yves Bissouma, we won't talk about
that
story yet.
On, but yeah, the problem is he's sitting there in my team, and I feel like by letting him be there, I'm in no way endorsing his lifestyle choices.
Oh, okay, you have seen the story.
Yes.
Good. Okay, cool.
But I'm not prepared to waste the FPL transfer to prove anything. So he's going, and he'll be gone. And if the allegations are true,
Yves Bissouma was in a nightclub on Brighton Beach. I'm selling him. Yeah, well done.
So if I was to sell Jota and Bissouma and keep Gallagher, Rafinha, and Salah, the 2 I would buy would be Mbeumo and Theclaret.
Okay.
Now I've got a midfield of 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6.5. And Rafinha, but Theclaret, Gallagher, Mbeumo, Rafinha, Salah, I think's not that bad a midfield to then give me Lukaku, Antonio, and Ivan Toney up front. And so I've got one of the best goalkeepers in Martinez, Chelsea, City, Liverpool defenders, the best of, Salah and Lukaku as captaincy cover, Antonio and Toney, and midfielders that can and will return. I feel like it's not too bad, but I don't need to pull the wild card to do that at all. Like I can do it over 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not getting Mbeumo before Chelsea. I don't need to deal with the Sanchez problem right now. It's not really an issue to get to Martinez. Like the luxury move, the move I would make this week of any would be Ronaldo to Lukaku. But Lukaku's got muscle fatigue anyway, so it's all right.
Got muscle fatigue.
But I don't need to again this week.
I agree, because Leicester away doesn't look as bad as it would have done in our minds. Yeah. And Brentford away looks tougher than we would have thought in our minds. So you have to adjust your mentality to
it. Just means my wildcard is a real luxury wildcard more than anything else. So what I actually need to get pulled back down to is figuring out what my chain moves would be over a 2 or 3 week period to give me the best entry points for these players. And Jota would have been the first downgrade because that gives me the most money. Again, I'm not selling Jota this week.
I think where I'm at is I almost definitely need to fix a defensive problem. I mean, I'm kind of in the position that if I probably don't get rid of Luke Shaw this week, he might end up just staying all the way through for me. As much as they look really bad defensively, it's not going to be a high priority move for me, I don't think. And it's not one where I want to be taking a hit particularly. So in my kind of structured plan at the moment, I have targets in terms of, I said, Tony and Mbeumo I want to get, but not this week. So the idea is to make the defensive move with the spare money this week, then downgrade one of the 3 midfielders that I don't particularly want. So like you, I've got Salah, Rafinha. I'm very happy with that, although conscious that Rafinha's probably not going to play this week, it looks like. Greenwood, Jota and Harvey Barnes are the other 3. One of them down to Mbeumo, then opens up for me to go from Zakiri to Tony.
Yep.
Then I'm actually quite strong in terms of I'm going to have a difficult kind of benching headache idea somewhere. Yeah. So the next move I want to do is get rid of another one of those midfielders for a 4.4, 4.5, which if were I buying right now, I would just buy Josh Brownhill at 4.4.
I think he is the flavour of the month.
He's not the best choice, but he's the cheapest playing one at the moment. By the time I get to this choice, it might be a different player. I don't think it's worth talking about further. And what that then opens up to get rid of the second player allows me to get rid of the third player and get Son.
Yep.
And then I'm transitioning from a 5 of Salah, Rafinha, Greenwood, Jota, Barnes to a 4 of Salah, Rafinha, Son and Mbeumo. That's where I want to get to. And Tottenham is the kind of furthest of the priorities, game week 12. Tottenham have a brilliant game week 12 to 15. Leeds at home, Burnley away, Brentford at home, Norwich at home, which is also the end of Lukaku's run. So if I have the luxury in 12 to move from Lukaku to Kane as well, I will. Because I want to fight with Harry or Sonny as captaincy options in 12 to 15. If I decide I'm happy to go and captain Son during that period, I probably won't go and get Harry Kane.
Yeah.
But I know, as I said to you previously, the more he blanks, the more I know at some point he's going to absolutely explode. So that's where I'm at strategy-wise, and then that takes me up to 16. I obviously haven't covered the ideas for transfers for 13, 14, 15, but it's when I mentioned certain ones like Newcastle. You think, oh, okay, so 13, 15, do I want to punt a Callum Wilson if he's back fit for a couple of weeks, who we wouldn't talk about now, as St. Maximin. So I've got a principal idea up to 12, then I'm short-term punts to then move to 16. But yeah, it's basically defensive move, Brentford players, Tottenham players, and one enabler. That's my plan. Somewhere's got to be at least one hit in there to make it happen.
We are going to cover off Newcastle tomorrow, but in context of this, just out of interest of FPL, do you think this takeover will affect the players positively? I can't see how it can't.
I can't see how it can be negative.
Yeah, suddenly you're at a club that's got ambition, wants to go places, and has had a real invigoration and shot in the arm. I think that if you like, St. Maximin posted the video, didn't he? That was just bonkers. But you can't. But
I wasn't even convinced it was St. Maximin. He looked a bit overweight.
It looked weird, didn't it? The angle was weird. Everything was weird. It was weird.
St. Maximin is not overweight.
No,
by the way.
But it was. I
wasn't convinced it was even him.
Nah, but the message was clear. I think they will be boosted by it. So I could see a little bit of a reaction.
Well,
there.
it's just even remove the football element. It's like any walk of life. New bosses come in. You want to impress, right?
For sure.
So yeah, I can't see how it would have a
negative
impact. The only thing it could be in terms of individual game situation, they might be a little bit too fired up. But it really shouldn't be a negative for them. No. And the atmosphere within the stadium is going to be very different. And there's a good chance Steve Bruce will be sacked by the time the game comes around on Sunday. Those seem to be the rumours. We think Graham Jones might take the team.
By Sunday?
Yeah. Well, they want him
Fair
gone.
play.
Listen, Steve Bruce is not going to stay Newcastle manager, is he? So might as well get on with it. It's probably just a case of them identifying what they want and how long have they got to stay with it out, because they're not dumb, right? If they want to get the supporters on side, another thing for them to do is sack the manager. We'll talk about it more tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Newcastle players are an FPL option in the coming weeks because we might see a little bit of a bounce there. For me, it's Callum Wilson. If Callum Wilson gets fit, then I think I'd be really interested.
Other than Chelsea at home in 10, and you could say Arsenal away in 13, they've got good fixtures up till 16. So there are a team that I've got my eye on. And St. Maximin, actually, he's the highest scoring forward in that mid-price bracket at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. Good. We have had plenty of questions in. I reckon we should try.
Are any of them about captain this week?
I'm not sure.
Are you captain?
Bust Ronaldo.
Not Mo Salah.
Sorry, Mo Salah. I was thinking 12:30 kickoff. Why don't Ronaldo?
The 12:30 doom. Ronaldo is not the 12:30. Mo Salah.
Mo
is
Salah.
The
Sorry, I'm completely young. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it will be Mo Salah with the kind of ears to what the news might be and prepared to move that to Lukaku by default if there's an inkling that Salah's not in the Watford team. But I think
I might even put the vice on Salah.
Going into it would have been kind of close between Salah and Lukaku for this week, thinking about it a few weeks back. Now it's with clarity that I think that he's just in phenomenal form. If he's going to play, they're playing one of the weaker teams. Admittedly, there is a little bit of an unknown about that in terms of how Watford's set up now with a new manager in Claudio Ranieri, but he's still the outstanding option, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to be sticking with him, not moving away. And I also think he will play. I can't see how he wouldn't play either. Yeah.
I can.
Well, where's he travelled to with Egypt? Anywhere?
Africa.
No, it's a geography lesson. Tune in.
Does it matter? It's far enough, isn't it?
Yeah, true. But I just don't know the intensity of their games and time. Well, one thing with Africa is there's no time difference.
I'm pretty sure Salah's playing today, Monday, and I think that might be
That's it. So he's going to be decent.
He should be. Doesn't mean Klopp won't rest him before a Champions League game next week and stuff, though, right? They've got Atletico next midweek in the Champions League.
Yeah, I'd say so, but if it was a Sunday game or later on the Saturday, it's the first game out, get him out. If he hits the ground running after 65, 70 minutes, they've won the game, then he can always bring him off.
We've seen this before, though, in 12:30s that Salah's been left out or taken off early. We've seen this historically in 12:30s.
I don't know if James is trying to shout listeners and get them scared.
I think Mo Salah's, if you've got this week, you captain him, and that's the end of it, unless you hear conclusive news on Saturday morning. Yeah?
Indeed, yep. Right, are we ready for this?
If he gets left out, most other people are going to be in the same position as you, as many were with Ronaldo in the last game week.
Exactly that. Yeah. Let's see if we can get through all the questions. FPL Lucky Plucker says, which match still haunts you the most? For us Arsenal fans, it's got to be the 4-4 draw with Newcastle after being 4-0 up. We often still, 10 years later, can't relax and enjoy matches when we're winning comfortably because of that experience.
I remember when they played Leeds last year and they won 4-2 and they were 4-0 up.
Yeah.
And all over my timeline was Gunnar still shitting themselves. So I get that. Game that haunts me the most.
It's simple for me. FA Cup final against Liverpool. That one is just...
Yeah, I hear you.
It's just a gut punch every single time.
I don't know. That's really difficult to pinpoint one particular game that kind of haunts. I could say like the 3-3 with West Ham last year, for example, but that's not, relative didn't make a difference to anybody's season at the end of it.
No.
Could I say the Champions League final maybe? I wouldn't say haunts me. Say it was disappointing on the night, what happened, but haunts me? No, there isn't a game where I go to bed and it's still recycling in my head. The Ajax game recycles in my head for positive reasons.
Yeah,
there isn't one for negative.
No.
Maybe because
there's
been too many.
On the Premier League's website, they made a little video of Premier League goals scored in October. And ironically funny that Lanzini goal was the last one in the clip, but there were some goals scored in October in that Premier League highlights reel that was so good. Daly and Atkinson scored at
Wimbledon in the first Premier League season.
Thierry Henry's little flick up and volley.
Man United.
That was fantastic as well. Who's the guy for Saints? Sofiane
Boufal
he
against
scored
West
a
Brom.
great goal as well. There was just some pearlers. You think some of these goals are out of this world.
Okay, expect own goals this weekend, kids.
Is that?
I don't know why you're telling me this.
No, just saying that it was just a memory of the Lanzini goal. Was the last one in that sequence of October Premier League goals. There were some good ones. Go and check them out. Stian therapy_FPL. Give that man a follow. Has a question, and it's a good one. If the European Super League actually happened and a fantasy game came into existence, would you play it? Top 6 from the big 4 leagues in Europe. Stian says he had a brain fart this morning and actually thought it'd be a good idea.
Someone's already done it.
I think the fantasy game. Rob Pix tweeted in and says Gaffer Super League already exists.
It already exists, yeah, that's it. No, I'm not playing it. It's
it doesn't exist, does it?
Gaffer Super League, yeah.
How does that work?
So Gaffer, the guys who have the do the championship fantasy game.
Correct.
There's a Super League one as well.
So you can pick players from the top 4.
I think it's the top 4 team, the top 4 finishers from the big 5 leagues last year. I think.
Okay, and you just pick from them.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, similar rules to Gaffer or similar rules to FPL?
Well, somewhere in the middle, I think, but probably more similar to Gaffer, I would have thought.
In terms of chips,
no, I'm not playing it. One game too many for me this year.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the other leagues to get involved. Okay, it already exists. Practice.
I would be far more interested if it was the choice from the 100 teams from all 5 leagues,
rather than just to learn a little
rather
bit
than
more.
just the top 4.
Yeah,
like you can't pick Tottenham players in that. I mean, why would you? But be interesting to see what price would Kane be in that? Would it be like 7.5 or something?
A lot cheaper than some of the others, mate. Timo on the Drug says, hi guys, what are your thoughts on FPL changing player positions during the season? Say if a player plays 5 consecutive games in a certain position, i.e. Torres from City, then his position changes from mid to forwards. What are your thoughts?
We can't do it.
It's too difficult.
We can't do it
because what happens with players that are sitting in their team
someone's
already?
Team? Exactly.
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's going to be too difficult. I'm not a fan, and I think that the truth is that there's already so much grey area about certain players' positions anyway, like these wide forwards being midfielders and strikers. Like that's already a grey area, and then you're making it grey by flicking them between the 2 positions anyway and changing their historic.
If they
points.
make the John Lundstrom mistake, you take advantage of it, don't you? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many reasons why it couldn't work. Like you have Salah as a
Could you
midfielder,
imagine like the 50...
gets moved to as a forward, then he plays as a midfielder and scores 4 goals, but now he's got 1 point less for every goal he scored because of the previous 5 games. It would get too messy.
I don't think the 50% owners that had John Lundstrom at the time would have been quite happy if he'd moved from a defender to a midfielder somehow.
No.
Probably would have stayed. Well, still would have stayed in everyone's team as a 5th midfielder, I suppose. But
Yeah,
no, it doesn't work, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, it can't work. It's one of the quirks of the game you just have to deal with. Rob Pick has a question. If you have a strong enough bench, what do you think of going with Chilwell? It seems this might be the time to do it with good fixtures for Livramento and White, meaning that you've got the cover on the bench. I did see somewhere on Twitter, James, that Chilwell's cheaper than Rudiger and Alonso. Like he's dropped below those guys in price now. I definitely thought he was cheaper than Alonso, but this could be me not checking something on.
It's probably you not checking something.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you see on Twitter.
No, you might be right. Chilwell is 5.6. You are right.
So he's cheaper than Alonso and Rudiger.
Alonso's up to 6 million now. Rudiger's 5.8. Azpilicueta at 6.1. Obviously got Christensen at 5. Thiago Silva at 5.5. So
he's at the lower end of the Chelsea defenders.
It's great to have that cover, but it doesn't do much for you when Chilwell comes on and plays the last 20 minutes. That's the only thing. And I think as an attacking wing back, that's always a possibility. We spoke about this at length with Ted at Rotation FPL on Thursday's Clash of Correspondence, and admittedly he's probably a low risk FPL manager from that perspective. His opinion is you just do not want the headache of those players when you've got players who can nearly match them at centre back who are playing every game. I mean, Alonso's on 39 points, Azpilicueta 36, Rudiger 36. It's not enough to really kind of justify the... And I realise Rudiger and Azpilicueta have got attacking returns which are less reliable than the likes of Alonso and Chilwell. But it's not worth it for me. Whereas, ironically, like John Stones is a player people have been talking about this week, and I don't agree with that at all. But in the case of John Stones, he's either going to play or he's not going to play. He's probably only getting on the pitch if Laporte or Diaz got injured, if he's not named in the 11. So in terms of the benching cover, I think it almost works better in that situation. Duffy's another one we've spoken about. Like, if he suddenly gets left out of the Brighton team, and I think if you own him, you probably play him this week away to Norwich, I would have thought.
Yeah, he ain't coming on.
But yeah, if he's not he ain't coming on.
Yeah.
Whereas Chilwell on that, nah. How many times have Reece James returned 1-pointers? So many times.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it.
What price is Reece James? You've got the list in front of you there.
5-5.
So they're all in that bracket.
Reece James is the only one flagged currently.
Yeah. Stian's got a second question. Am I mad to genuinely think that Tony is a better captaincy option than Lukaku between game week 10 and game week 14? And I don't know if there's a bit of Chelsea bias in there, Stian, where you can't go with your own team sometimes, but I don't know. From what... Oh, shit.
Wow.
Spilt tea on the old tablet. Mid-pod. That's all right. You can answer Stian's question. And I'm
trying to save your laptop.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a little tablet. It'll be all right.
Don't worry. I'll put that on YouTube. On Twitter, sorry. It'll definitely be on YouTube either way. What a fool. Okay, Tony versus Lukaku, your numpty.
10 to 14 game weeks.
No. Weeks that I would captain Tony over Lukaku. None of them.
Not even one?
None of them. No, I mean, Tony's best one is Norwich at home. Lukaku's got Burnley at home. I mean, I would still see that as a game that Lukaku could go big in.
Yeah.
So, no. Brentford have Newcastle away in 12. Chelsea have Leicester away. Sorry, if I had to bust one captain, it would still be Lukaku. Chelsea have United at home in 13. Brentford have Everton at home. No, sorry, same thing. I'd still actually go Lukaku if I had to of the two.
I suppose the point there is that Tony's fixture is actually all right. Decent.
Yes, well,
so he's perfectly good to have him in your team.
This is why I've got a serious interest in Mbeumo and Tony. But Tony's not coming in as a player that's ever going to get the captaincy for me. No, it doesn't need to at 6.3. I'm sure it'll be 6.5 again in a couple of weeks. No, I don't agree with that at all.
No.
Just stop. Look, Brentford, I know they're doing well. We're talking about captain a Brentford attacker. It's not your best option.
It isn't indeed.
Admittedly, of course, you can go Tony over Lukaku and it puts you 5 million or so in the bank, and obviously you can use that. It's a different conversation. But if you're generally looking at it from a captaincy perspective, no, I can't advise that. So you've got to try and find the rest of the questions
I'm
now.
Straight back on it, mate. We have Manon Martin.
Do I need to buy you a new laptop?
Nah, this is fine. What are your thoughts on Edouard at Palace? Is he even more appealing now that Elise is fully fit? And or is one of their midfielders better coverage for their nice-looking run coming up? Are minutes with Benteke, assuming in rotation with Edouard, is what Martin means, a concern?
I would say not a concern. I'm pretty sure that's going to go wrong, Suj. I'm pretty sure that he'll get in the team.
Edouard.
Or he is in the team. I'm pretty sure he'll stay in the team as first choice. Doesn't mean he won't ever get rotated. No. But I think, look, Palace will play once a week. You should be absolutely fine. I want to say they're out of the cup as well, I think. I want to say.
I'm not sure
I'm pretty sure they lost to Watford in round 2, I think.
Okay.
So they've no midweek concerns for them. 2 of the next 3 are Arsenal away and Man City away. So that doesn't appeal. Mig Tavius, our Palace correspondent, coming on COTC next week, so we'll get his opinion on it. I must say Edouard would not be in my thoughts at all.
He's the same price as Tony,
yeah,
isn't he?
It's not even a debate for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I don't think I see it. I think he'll do all right, though.
It doesn't mean that Edouard won't outscore Tony. I get all that. Personally, it wouldn't be a consideration for me till game week 11. And for someone, I guess there's influence in me when I look at it and go, right, even 13 is Villa at home, 14 is Leeds away, 15 is Man United away. That's not where I want to end up, personally.
No. FPL Tractor. This question was yesterday. Yesterday was the World Conker Championships. Did you play Conkers, and do you have any Conkers memories? Of course,
I used to collect them.
Love it. I mean, you just put a string through them and like whack them.
We used to go and get as many Conkers as I could on the way home.
But did you play Conkers?
No, I used to leave them in a plastic bag and I'd go mouldy.
We used to have a school championship, Conker championships, when it used to come around. The teachers would organise it. Everyone put their Conker in and whatever else. But this is going back to I was 13, 12, 13, 11, whatever. So long time ago. But then there used to be all the old tricks that you used to be able to do. So there was like these old wives' tales about Conkers. So if you bake it in the oven, apparently it gets harder. Or the other one was soak it in vinegar. If you soak it in vinegar, they used to get a bit soft. So when the other guy hit your Conker with their Conker, it would just bounce off type situation. I'm sure you have all these old wives' tales that people would do to their Conkers for their Conker competition to try and win Conkers. I've got plenty of memories of Conkers. But yeah, I think it's died a death. Yeah. The worst was when you have to fucking get a hole through the Conker to put your string through. You end up whacking through a screwdriver through your finger or something. Ouch. That was a bastard as well. I was out
with my boy the other day who's nearly 3. He's sitting in the buggy and we were walking past, there was loads of these Conkers. It's like, oh, can I find one that's already kind of broken out of his shell?
Yeah.
I gave him one. He looked at it. He just went, no, I'm through it.
I thought you were going to say you tried to eat it.
No, it's like, no. I don't want that. It's gone.
What's your views on horse chestnuts?
Who?
Horse chestnuts. You know, you get them at Christmas sometimes. You can eat them. Roasted chestnuts. Nah? Not your cup of tea?
Nah.
Tasty. They're nice, man. We'll
Any
do
nuts
that.
I know is dry roasted in the pub.
One of the things that I want to do one day is a video series of all the stuff that we said we would do but wouldn't, that's completely unrelated to FPL. Baked camembert is one. I want to sit and have some dipped cheese with you. Foot golf.
Which I now know what that is.
Penalty shootout. And a game of Conkers. And now some horse chestnuts we need to have as well. Got to add that to the list. But yeah, when James and I have some time outside of this, we'll figure it out. Jimmy Theclaret, what's your favourite football memory involving your kids or family? The context, my kid's due any day now, so I'm in a right sentimental mood. Jimmy Theclaret. Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Nah, to be honest, when they're little, before they can walk and talk, that's the bliss. That first year, because you're like, oh, yeah. Actually, to be honest, what happens in the first year is they're boring as hell because they don't do anything. And you're like, when's this one going to walk? When's it going to talk? When's it actually going to give me some like entertainment? As soon as they start walking, you're like, fuck, I've got to run around after this little fucker everywhere. And then when they start talking, you just like, can you just shut the fuck up for 1 second?
For the benefit of those on the audio, so just still trying to dry his keyboard.
Yeah. I think I need to get the tea to a point where it's not going to cause long-term damage to this little bastard. Kids, memories with family on football. They'd mainly be with my brother, my middle brother, more than my kids because they haven't really got into it yet. But football day when it was Upton Park, 2005, 6, 7, when we had season tickets, was much more of a tradition than going to the football now is. I guess it's probably because the fixture kickoff times are just all over the place. So 1 week I'm going on a Saturday, 1 week I'm going on a Sunday, sometimes at lunchtime, sometimes in the evening. Generally back then I always remember Saturday was football day. It was also pre-marriage and pre-kids, so I had nothing else to worry about. Like I can go as early as I want, come back as late as I want, and there's no other like, what time are you back from the football type stuff. So it used to be the same all the time. Leave at like 10:30. Always fry up at the cafe before, followed by a couple of pints, always chatting shit in the pub, followed by the game, followed by a pint, and then finally we'd go home. And that was it. Every single football day was the same. And there was no debate, no discussion, nothing. Football day was football day, and it was always the same routine. And I missed that down at Upton Park as memories of football. It's
interesting. When I heard the question, it made me think of goals.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking, and to be honest, I keep thinking back to the same one. It was, you know which goal I'm going to say. It was just in that moment, I need to make sure that my dad doesn't die here so he can make the final. That's it. And that's honestly, it's the first thing I think of was gripping him and grabbing him by both arms because we're going to go.
Yeah,
like the dominoes are about to happen. So that.
Yeah. I suppose more recently, the first time I watched a game with my family all together, so my wife and 2 kids as opposed to extended family, was the Euro final this summer gone. And we all sat down and got ready to watch it. and they were quite into it as well. Albeit my wife was shouting a lot of bad stuff at the Italians,
obscenities,
no swear words, but she
posh
was not
chants.
happy with the Italians.
Were there posh chants?
So, and I won't forget it because it was the day I let my son have beer for the first time.
So don't tell people that.
No, it's fine. It was.
It's fine. Clarify how old your son is.
7, but there's method in my madness because when you're little, beer doesn't taste nice. So I thought, all right, have a little sip.
He liked it though,
You'll
innit?
turn around and say, I don't like it, and then you'll never want to drink it again. He was like, oh, this is nice. Can I have some more? This has backfired on me. But we watched the game all in front of the lounge, in front of the TV and stuff. It was good. But yeah, that would be it. So
Suj's boy will be in AA meetings by the time he's 12.
Tanmay Gaude says, what's your thoughts on the Nations League final? Like I said, I didn't watch it. So James, you go for it.
Very briefly, pretty even contest. I think.
Was it the 2 best teams deserved to be in it in the final?
I mean, I didn't watch the semi-finals, in all honesty, so it would be wrong of me to comment on that. Obviously, Spain ended Italy's run, but it was largely influenced by the fact Bonucci got sent off in the semi-final. It was a real shame the way the game was decided last night.
With the offside goal?
Yeah, it really was a shame because no one's comfortable with that. I don't even think the officials giving the goal were even comfortable with that.
Explain what happened.
So Griezmann tried to play a through ball
to Mbappe,
who's running off the shoulder of Eric Garcia. Mbappe's offside.
Right.
It's slightly offside, but you can see it. He doesn't even need the lines. You can see that he's slightly offside. Garcia tries to intercept the pass because obviously he doesn't know that Mbappe's offside. He's got to try and play it. But because Garcia makes
the ball.
An intentional play of the ball, and he's stretching with all his might to try and get a touch on the ball, gets a little clip on it, and it goes through to Mbappe and obviously scores. It's offside, man.
Yeah. Frustration.
Spain will be extremely good in Qatar, I think. They've got a very good manager in Luis Enrique. They've got good, young, up-and-coming players. I have to say, Busquets was great, I thought. Gary in midfield, 17. I mean, we obviously did quite a bit on Barcelona very recently, but I mean, they've got some talented kids.
Yeah.
They probably just need a manager like
Gavi.
Lewis.
Does he play alongside Pedri then?
Well, yeah, the 2 kids. I mean,
they
could be the future. Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting. One of our patrons, Sim, we were talking about Barcelona at the weekend. And there's no doubt they obviously do have some incredible talent. But it needs harnessing in the right way with a coach who's probably going to let them express themselves. That's the best way for Barcelona to get through their near future, is literally get these kids in the team and play the Barcelona way. That's the best hope they've got in the near future. France, obviously, top end have got the X factor. I thought Paul Pogba played really well last night, actually.
But he's a good player.
He showed me, and I think this might be a frustration for Manchester United fans, that he's played in a pivot. I mean, France played back 3, basically. And Pogba played as one of the 2 in midfield.
Alongside Kante?
Your young boy at Monaco's name escapes me. Chao Summit. Very good player, by the way. He's only 21 himself. But Pogba showed that he can be disciplined in that position. I don't know if he feels that kind of ownership. Like he feels like he's the leader of that team, but he should be a leader at Manchester United as well.
Yeah.
He can play that role. And he always looks good in that role for France.
Rob Pick, this is a quick answer one, James. If you had to go for one City midfielder or attacker, would you find a way to get KDB? And
City or who, sorry?
A City midfielder or attacker. One City forward asset, basically. Would you find a way to get KDB, or would you be happy with another? And if so, who?
I've got to be honest, I'm not interested.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not interested because I just think, and I get it, like, I mean, I see people selling Ferran Torres now. Like, if you've got this far, you hold.
Not for Burnley, come on.
Now, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, they could beat Burnley again 5-0 at the weekend, and eight different players might get attacking returns or something. And okay, it's spread great. You're definitely getting the returns. But you could also have 8 different City attacking players. 8 different players get attacking returns.
The week after.
And the one you've got might be sitting on the fucking bench.
It's just a trauma. That I don't want to go down either.
I can't be asked of it. Not when I've got problems and I'm looking at it and going, I've got this problem. Is he going to be on the bench? Is he going to play? I can't justify it at the moment. I don't think there's enough worth it, personally.
FPL_red.
But to answer the question, I think I mean, if money no object, yeah, KDB.
KDB.
But actually, yeah, probably Torres is the one I would buy this week if I had to.
Sarr to Foden. Is it A or B? Sarr to Foden. It's a bit hard with that context. Or Ronaldo to Lukaku for this week. I feel like I would do Ronaldo to Lukaku because it's a longer term move. Gets you set up for a number of weeks as opposed to just this week.
Yeah, and I think next week Sarr opens up to a few other players who don't have good fixtures this week. So, for example, Bremo, perhaps Conor Gallagher, or even like Michael Elise, Crystal Palace might become interesting.
What price is Elise? 5?
Cheap as. Probably not going to be an option, but it'll be a super differential.
Yeah.
I mean, his ownership would be nothing, right?
Yeah.
I think it opens up a bit more to sell Sarr next week.
FPL tips, Harry. Urinal or urinal? But I think the question is actually urinal or urinal. Is that the debate?
Elise is 5.4, by the way. Ownership 0.0%. Urinal or urinal? So
it's a urinal.
The amount of people listen to this podcast, and there's only about 6 of them who are only going to get what this is about. Through a conversation we had with a gentleman already mentioned, Sim. It was at our meet-up on Saturday, who is adamant that it is urinal, and everybody else is saying it's urinal. And Luke from Scout Disable absolutely nailed it by showing him the Google, how do you actually physically say it?
Yeah.
It's urinal, mate. It's not urinal. But it's called urine, so why isn't it? It went on for ages. It doesn't matter, mate. It's urinal.
FPL Wilson, double Chelsea defence or double City defence? If on a wild card, would you favour a back 4? Double City or double Chelsea? I think double Chelsea.
Can I just say, if I was on wild card, there's every chance I'd be both. Yeah. If Trent is ruled out this week. Obviously, that's part of my plan at the moment. I'm not going back to Trent.
No, that's the thing. You're going to find him.
It's not going to work for me.
I agree. I think if I was... The frustration with double City... Well, the thing with City is, are you going to end up with 2 attackers if they really start popping off? And if it becomes clear that 2 are going to... Or are you going to want 2 Chelsea attackers? Lukaku kind of is a standard. Everyone's going to be looking at him. But where are you going to want your second? And if you're not... Then I guess it doesn't really make a difference. But if you do want a second attacker from one or other, that might dictate the way you go. I can't see myself going to Mount or Havertz or anyone in midfield. And I can't see myself going to a City attacker either. So I actually don't think it makes much difference to me.
If I had to go with one now, it would be the double Chelsea, and it would be Rudiger and Azpilicueta.
Yeah.
I know that the 2 of them are going to play 9 out of 10 games all the time and crack on with it.
And it'll be all right. Yeah.
And they're also capable of keeping clean sheets in the toughest of games, as we've seen.
Jordi van der Laan. I bet I've pronounced it really well. Van der Laan.
Jordi.
Jordi.
Are you on a joke here trying to do your Newcastle accent?
No, this is Dutch, I'm assuming. Van der Laan.
It might be Jordi then.
Jordi van der Laan. Could it prove to be valuable to let go of the usual 4.5 attacking bench fodder and go with 8 playable attacking assets due to circumstances, i.e. get them all in the 5.6? If I had pulled my wild card and moved where I would be in that situation. Theclaret, Gallagher, Mbeumo, Rafinha, Salah, Tony, Antonio, Lukaku or Ronaldo.
I don't like that setup.
It's too much money tied in.
It just makes it difficult for you even to get to people like Havertz. Never mind Son.
Yeah.
If you want to get that way, it just makes it so difficult. But that is how you could justify having the 8 attacking by saying, yeah, okay, I'll go with Gallagher, Theclaret and Mbeumo, for example, and make week-to-week choices in terms of which one you leave out. But I'm not keen on that. Plus, as well, there's so many good defensive options at the moment.
Yeah, agreed. FPL Dougal, is the Brentford triple up, 1 defensive asset, Raya, Pinnock, Henry or whatever, and Mbeumo and Tony a bit mental or genius on wildcard? Well, we talked about it. The attacking double up, I have no problem with. I think, especially at their value, just it's fine because you can rotate Mbeumo if you really wanted to for specific fixtures. The defensive one, I'm not that bothered about having a defensive Brentford asset if you think that one of them at 4.5 is better than an Arsenal or another asset. I do see a lot of people looking towards Raya as one of the better 4.5 options now, especially if Ramsdale's gone to 4.6. They're fine. That's all right. It's not for me massively Brentford defensive, but the attacking double up.
I think if I was on wildcards this week, I would go on Mbeumo, and he'd be the only one I'd probably go with, and look at it and go, look, brilliant, unquestionable value at the moment. OOP up front. They're about to walk into the great fixtures. I'll take the 2 points against Chelsea if that's what it is. I think in the case of Tony, I'd probably look at him specifically and go, can I take the 1 week punt somewhere else? Mm-hmm. And that's the more powerful. If you're doing a 1 week punt, you're going 6.5 million forward or 5.5 million midfielder. You're better off taking the 6.5 million forward option as the 1 week punt. So someone like Morpay at away to Norwich this week. Yeah. Then he's got 2 horrendous fixtures. He's got Liverpool and City back to back. So Morpay, bang, 1 week straight off to Tony. The starting with all 3. You're on wildcard and you get 3 Brentford players and about to play Chelsea. So presumably what you're doing in that. So you want an immediate bounce off a wild card. So you're going to go Tony and Mbeumo against probably the best defence in the league. Pinnock, if you go, for example, that route, what are you doing? You're leaving him on the bench? 4.6? Maybe we should go something cheaper. I don't hate it. I just would not be going down that route if I was on wild card, personally. I think getting a Brentford defensive player is very reasonable. And as Tom Med said on COTC last week, his advice would be, go Pinnock.
Yeah. We have a question coming in from... this one's a good one, James. FPL discussion. Would you rather shit yourself once a day in private or once a year in public?
Well, I love that the bigger our podcast gets, the more...
random the questions get.
The more educated our listeners get, shall we say.
Yeah.
Who's asking this question?
FPL discussion.
Brilliant. Love you, mate. So would you rather shit yourself in public once
a year
or shit yourself in private all year long?
Yeah.
I'd go for the once in public.
I think so too. Just get it done with.
Yeah, bollocks.
I think after the first time, people stop watching.
Everyone shit themselves.
Yeah.
There'll be someone listening. No, I've never. You have.
Yeah. I saw a YouTube video with a comedian, and the question someone asked him was, would you rather eat shit that tastes like chocolate?
What is this?
Or chocolate that tastes like shit? That was a good question. We'll save it for another pod.
You'd eat the shit, surely.
That tastes like chocolate?
Yeah.
Or the chocolate that tastes like shit?
It's got to be the shit that tastes like chocolate.
Though, isn't it? I'm not even going down that route. I'm going at random now with the questions.
I can't wait for the Gameweek review next week. Next.
When you were playing football, James, this is one for you. When you were still playing football, if one of your matches was the same time as a Spurs game, which one would you choose to go to?
What, as in when I played?
Yeah.
Bit Spurs.
Yeah. And your team knew that, and that was it. They had to deal with it.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, listen, when I was 10, we played Everton at Ellen Road in the FA Cup semi-final. And we had a game against... I played for a kids team called Broadway. We won the league, and we had a double header, they called it then, because of postponed games. Rather than half hour each way, you played 2 games of 15 minutes each way. So they played 2 games on the same day, kind of like same length.
Yeah.
But to fit the fixtures in, they played 2 shorter games. Anyway, back in these days in 1995, you didn't have the mobile phones and all that. So next morning, phones one of the kids. So how many did we win by? They won 5-0 and they lost 1-0. What? How did you lose one of the games 1-0? It was shit team. It was the only game we lost all season. Fuckers. I was so upset. I cried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Tottenham made me cry the day earlier as well because we lost 4-1 to Everton.
Oh, no. Sizzlers wants to know if Kane or Aubameyang are still an option. Kane will be soon.
Aubameyang's a no.
But not Aubameyang.
Kane, as I said, game at 12, short term. It's the end of Lukaku's run. Not that Lukaku can't return at Leicester away and then Man United at home, but I think that gives you reasonable, okay, I can move this. Kane's got 3 home fixtures, 1 away fixtures, Burnley. The 3 home games are Leeds, Brentford, Norwich. Brentford obviously looks a bit harder at the moment, but will it be by the time game week 14 comes round? They might have a dip. They will do at some stage, I'm certain of it. So that's a great one for me, for Kane. And the only reason I won't get Kane, I think, in that period is if I get there and I'm so happy that I can just captain Son in those fixtures.
Yeah. And talking about that, KDB or Son over the mid to long term? That's from Colm, that question.
Son for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I
think Son will be the
better
second.
Value
I think he'll be, as long as he stays fit, he'll be the second highest scoring midfielder in the game.
There's a lot of good midfielders in the game, and Bruno Fernandes, even Mane's been returning. I don't think it's there's not going to be much in it, but then you have to remember that he's a couple of million cheaper than those other guys as well, Sonny. So points per million, 100% he'll be up there as second best.
Brilliant, consistent. Nearly every time he returns, he's pushing towards double point hauls and stuff. Yeah. Brilliant asset.
Yeah. Real Debacle says it's Thanksgiving here tomorrow, so the FPL ban will still be on.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That's just the second Christmas lunch, isn't it?
Basically, yeah.
I've always tried to understand what's the
I don't know if we've just really offended people.
Deeper significance of Thanksgiving.
Another excuse to eat chicken.
And I understand the historical stuff behind it, but the point of the celebration is just the fat meal, from what I can see.
So in America, do they get presents at Thanksgiving and Christmas?
I don't think they do presents, but they do a big roast.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, listen, guys, we do that every Sunday here anyway, so...
Usama Brimett wants to know the best game week to wildcard other than game week 8. So the first and foremost is when you have like tons of flags. So as soon as you get 4 or 5 flags, that's the time to definitely consider pulling the wildcard. Other than that, in terms of fixture swings, James, you mentioned 15-16 is a good time to pull it out, that we talked about already.
I mean, yeah, I think 16 for me. I know there's a few people looking at sort of 12 as well now. There's lots of people. It feels like every week at the moment there's a lot of people on wildcard. I'd say I'd be interested to hear from is the people who wildcard in sort of game week 2 or so.
Yeah.
How do they feel now? Some I'm sure feel great about it. Some probably regret using it that early. I'd be really interested to get the feedback on what people feel about those who used it that early, and if they're a bit regretful, or if they feel like they had a big enough bounce from it. Because I feel fairly certain that people will have had problems since then, almost unavoidable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be interested to hear that. But there is no right or wrong answer. Like for me, looking at 16, I can say now with certainty that most people are going to go, no, James, you're wrong. I'm saying that for me, on the way I'm working, it's probably best strategy for me. It won't be for many other people. So there's not a right or wrong. If you're sitting there with 8 flags, press the button.
Yeah.
But make sure the flags are legitimate, not muscle fatigue.
Fake phantom injuries that seem to be appearing. Righty-ho. The questions. My amazing
iPad is
tablet
broken.
Is now starting to be a bit glitchy with some of the questions that we had. There was a question, though, that had come in. Ooh, where is it? And it wasn't about shitting yourself, so we know that's good. A good one. Well, this guy's name's been mentioned a number of times, Ferran Torres, and it's either is he a good punt for 1 week wild card? What do we do, and so on. I think if you own him, you keep him. If you don't own him, you don't buy him. But if you're wild carding, go for it.
I think
wild carders, I think, is perfectly good. I wouldn't buy him if. Come on, man! If you're moving a Jota to him or a Greenwood to him,
most people wildcard this week are going to have a Man City attacking player.
Yeah, for wildcarders, I think it's fine. I just think if you're using your free transfer or taking a hit, I wouldn't do it.
I also think if I didn't have any issues this week and didn't have such a set long-term plan in terms of where I was going with my transfers and wanted a player for 1 week, then I would consider going like Mason Greenwood to Ferran Torres. Yes, I would. It's not for me though.
The rotation risk makes it too much of a luxury transfer.
All week, people say, "Is he going to play? Is he going to?" I don't know, and you don't know either. None of us know who's going to play for Manchester City in 5 days' time. You know the risk when you buy that sort of player. It's like the player I really want to buy this week, honestly, is Cancelo for Luke Shaw. But I realised I've got other issues, and I can't really afford to carry another player who might not play. And it might be I just go, fuck it, I know Spilt is going to play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it might be the bottled. And I think that probably says a lot for what type of FPL manager I am. Other people will obviously look at that very differently. I don't think Spilt is a better option than Cancelo, but he might be the right solution for me this week that I need.
NASA has a question, James. What are your thoughts on Ole? And taking that into account, what are your thoughts on United assets for FPL short and medium term? I might use the opportunity to just give a shout out to our Patreon if anybody was interested in supporting the show, but not just for the fact that, you support the show. You did a really good video on Friday for the Patreons, advanced tiers, on Manchester United tactically.
It was Friday because by the time it was released, it was about 2:30 in the morning. But yeah, it was Thursday.
Thursday's video, but it was a solid 13 and a half minutes of a tactical deep dive into United getting screwed over on the counter attack,
screwing themselves over on the counter attack.
And so obviously you've been looking into United tactically and how they're getting set up and what have you. I'm all right on Ollie. Just be careful what you wish for when you go and look for a different manager. I think the fact that the likes of Conte, maybe later in the year, Poch or Zidane are available makes you always look over what could you get. But
the last real deep dive I kind of did was on Brentford previously.
Yeah.
And the stuff I looked at in there, once I kind of researched it more, the real theme out of it was, look, stop. These are a good team.
Yeah.
They defend properly. They attack properly. They're going to give some teams some problems. Following that, they've had the draw with Liverpool and the win against yourselves.
Yeah.
My analysis on Manchester United leads me to think that as shit as Leicester have been lately and have not been great, they will absolutely murder United on the counter-attack.
Yeah, especially with no Varane and Maguire.
With like the likes of Vardy, Barnes, if Iheanacho plays. Ademola Lookman actually would be a really good player for this game if Varane is out as well. They have a huge problem in the way they deal with counter-attacks. And actually, the deeper the counter-attack starts, the more in trouble they are. Mm-hmm. When Manchester United have a corner, they look just as likely to concede as they are to score. They're in major trouble in transition. It's getting worse week on week.
So feeding that back into Ollie, thoughts on Ollie?
What I've always suspected is that Manchester United will not win the Premier League title while he's manager.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
And I don't even think it's necessarily that he's bad. I think now, you must remember, when Solskjaer took over, he inherited a team of shit, complete shit. And I'm well aware what happens when you have to inherit the shit from the previous manager, and actually has transformed that team in terms of how it looks. Like, they've bought Wan-Bissaka, Maguire. He's brought through players like, and I know McTominay did play a little bit for the previous manager, but he's established a first team player. He's brought Luke Shaw back to life, right? He's kind of integrated people like Mason Greenwood into the team, etc. So, and obviously bought the likes of Bruno. Obviously, Ronaldo's come back. Jadon Sancho's in the squad now. The squad looks very different to the squad that Solskjaer inherited. That now creates its own kind of problem and pressure. So now, rather than trying to re-energise that team, and he did it very successfully for a while by playing good counter-attacking football, now with the quality of players they have, they can't play that way in the same way, because they have too many players who want to be dominant on the ball, the likes of Bruno, Cristiano, Ronaldo. They have a bias to left-sided attack, which is okay. And it's another reason why I'm not that loath to get rid of Luke Shaw, because I know that he can return attacking returns in almost any game at the moment. But I think when you compare to the other top managers, the Klopps, Guardiola's, Tuchel, I don't see the consistency in that Manchester United team from Solskjaer that's going to get them a Premier League title. And ultimately, that's what Manchester United should always be aiming for. And I think United fans probably feel after the Villarreal final in the Europa League that this probably has to be a trophy-winning year. And I can't see them winning the Premier League. I think they would need a very, very good draw to win the Champions League, which is possible. That's probably more likely than the Premier League. They're obviously out of the Carabao Cup. So it leaves the FA Cup unless they drop into the Europa League, which they really, really shouldn't do. Having got the victory against Villarreal in the group stage, which they were very fortunate to win, by the way. I think I see a team there at the moment that, and this is possibly interesting for game week 15 and beyond because of the fixture swing, I see a team there that if teams are organised and counter-attack properly, any team could beat them home or away at the moment. But they're just as capable of beating any team as well. But I think to compete with the other three for the title, United are not going to have the consistency.
Okay. McFlurry Oreos would like to know which 90s midfielder, early 90s defender, midfielder or striker would you love to have in your FPL side, and how much do you think they would be priced at?
Oh,
Shearer? Was he in his prime then?
It's early 90s, yeah? Yeah, Shearer. It'd have to be Shearer.
13 million.
I mean, Shearer between sort of 94 and 96. Yeah, it would have been, at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Just banging in goals for fun. 30 goals a season consistently.
Yeah, it would have to be Shearer, I think, as a forward. Midfielder.
Beckham? Nah.
Giggs.
Yeah, he was consistent as well.
Pair of them. Paul Scholes. I mean, probably
not
we're saying
FPL
early 90s wouldn't be.
No.
In fact, early 90s, I wouldn't have said any of them. Probably someone more like maybe even Paul Merson, maybe.
Okay.
If he'd have been a midfielder and perhaps at Arsenal. Someone more like that. Maybe Gary Speed. Might be another name to throw in now.
Gary Speed. He was a good player.
Of course he was.
Indeed. Let's go to Giffy.
We
Gifford.
didn't say a defender, did we?
Nah.
Julian Dix is what Suj wants to say.
Yeah. Chuck him in there. Question on formations from Giffy. With lots on wildcard and others seeking Chelsea and City defensive coverage, us 4 at the back. Is 4 at the back the best way to go? Should we sacrifice a 7th attacker and go with 7 and put up with the rotation, or stick with a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2? Especially irrelevant if I think Trent is fit. So 4 defenders or 3, I guess.
So I'm heading towards 4, I think. Although the original plan was for that to be quite a bulky, i.e. one from the big 4, basically. It now looks like it's not going to be that way, and I'm going to play a regular budget player within that system. But yeah, I'm probably heading towards a 4. Possibly even a 4-3-3, possibly for me. Depending on how it works when I get to sort of game week 12. But the idea really is to get to a kind of hybrid 3-4-3 / 4-3-3.
I think it's easier to get to 4 if you don't have Trent because of budget.
The regular listeners know it's going to be paining me that Trent doesn't work for me at the moment.
I get it.
And I made a big call to sell him. For anybody else, like if he's fit, just buy him. Don't do what I do what I advise.
A few more questions to look at, and there was one particularly good one. I haven't got the person that asked it in front of me, but I will find it before we answer the question, James. Is Vardy a viable alternative to Romelu Lukaku? Wait for it. If it funds Jota to Son.
Yeah, because it gives you an extra captaincy option.
Because the likelihood is that person's going to own Salah, and you're never going to captain Jota over Salah.
That said, the answer ultimately is no.
It was Vardy Boys, by the way, who asked the question.
Purely because, and I guessed it on the FPL Experiments podcast last week, and we discussed upcoming captaincy for a number of weeks coming up. And, I mean, please tell me if you're not captaining Lukaku in 9, who you're captaining. Like, who are you captaining if you don't go Lukaku? What are you actually doing? You go in Son at West Ham. You go in Salah at Old Trafford. I mean, it's so obviously Lukaku in 9 at home to Norwich.
Yep.
There isn't... It's not even a debate next week, I don't think. I almost hope that Lukaku blanks this week. So people, oh my God, he's blanked in 4 or 5. I mean, he might get that many against Norwich in 9.
William K. Manu says, this is a very interesting question. Why, in your opinion, is football so popular in England? The reason I ask is I moved to the UK just before the pandemic. And since fans have been allowed back, I'm always amazed at how many fans I see going to West Ham games. I'm assuming he lives near West Ham. I never expected a non-traditional top 4 to have so many fans.
Taurus.
And looks like even teams in the lower leagues have huge following. Is it simply as most parents take their kids to games at an early age? I don't think that's it, because of the number of kids you see is not huge. Also, the cost of football at top 4 and bigger clubs is extortionate. But tribalism.
Exactly the word I had in mind,
tribalism. Yeah. Back in the days, we used to just fight each other because of where we used to live. Now we can't do that. Government outlawed it or whatever. So we have to argue about something, and football is it. The thing with like a West Ham, for example, is geography. You always got to look at the geographical area that a club serves and then what else is there in that space. So for us, Essex is a massive area with limited football clubs. You want Cheltenham Town, Southend, but not really anything big. You geographically, for example, are neighbours with Tottenham, so two big clubs in a smaller catchment area, whereas we don't have that necessarily. You look at the likes of Newcastle, one club cities like that, clean up. Leeds, clean up. So the size of the following sometimes is dictated by geography as well as anything else, not necessarily success on the pitch. But tribalism.
I've got not a lot more to add on that.
I was blown away.
What we do
at the pub on Saturday with the Scotland Israel game, and I shouldn't be because Scottish fans are hardcore at the best of times. But how passionate they were about watching Scotland play Israel every time.
But it was a big game for them.
Yeah, I guess so. I probably was oblivious to it, but they were proper into it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it basically was them and Israel were fighting for second place in that group, so it was a big game for them.
Yeah. So, the passion was incredible. But to be fair, the game ended up being quite a story with the way that the score was swinging and what have you. But, yeah, it's incredible.
We knew what was going on because these Scottish people in the pub, to tell you the truth, we weren't actually watching it.
Every few
minutes.
They were
good crack.
There was a couple of Israeli fans in the corner. They'd cheer. Like, two guys would cheer when they
were Israeli, were they? I think you find they were probably English.
Oh, were they?
Probably.
I just made that assumption. But actually,
they missed the penalty,
right.
and a couple of the lads we were with were cheering when Scotland missed the penalty. I was like, leave it out, lads.
Yeah. This one's coming in from Borderline. In light of the Newcastle takeover, who do you think are 3 realistic targets for January that could drastically improve their current 11?
Drastically? In January?
But what's realistic? January's hard to do business in.
Realistic buys for Newcastle. I think I discussed this. We'll talk about it a bit more on tomorrow's pods. But I think it's targeting the best players from the teams in and around them at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So like James Tarkowski's out of contract at Burnley next year.
Game.
That's short term as well. What Newcastle need to do before they go and think of winning Premier League titles, they need to go and break in to be as good as Everton, Villa, Tottenham, West Ham, whatever, right? Yeah. These teams first. This is going to be a harder task for Newcastle than it was for Manchester City back in the late noughties and early 10s, because the teams below the big four are better and more powerful than they were then. Like, City got money and they were basically the 5th best team. That's not going to be the case for Newcastle. So people like James Tarkowski, he's 28, 29 or something. You get him in 2-3 years, boom, he gets you to that point, and then you're ruthless about it. You move him on.
Yep.
He goes somewhere else on another Bosman, and you buy it. Then you go and buy the next Bonucci or Chiellini or something, or the next Vincent Kompany, whatever. So I think targeting those teams. I think like people like Ismail Assar at Watford. These are the sort of players that they'd want to have in mind in terms of what they're doing. Wouldn't even say get the best players from the Championship even.
Yeah, I mean that's where we've done well, is getting players proven Championship players most recently.
Take advantage of a lot of the French clubs are looking to sell players at the moment. Take advantage of that sort of market. Yeah, it's not about going out and saying, do you know what? Because we can buy Haaland next summer, we're going to go and buy Haaland next summer. That's not really the answer or the solution for Newcastle, because they could buy Haaland, and if they're not in the Champions League within 2 years, he's going to be going, I'm not having this.
He's not going to go though.
So
even now, if you went to Haaland and said, look, we're the richest club in the world, he won't. Because money doesn't make a difference. You could sell him the whole dream though of like, look, if you're going to be here for the next 10 years or something, you're going to be the man, and we're going to grow all this for you. I wouldn't say it's impossible next summer, but I'd find it very unlikely. Yeah. I think Newcastle need to, and it sounds like they probably will be sensible in terms of what they're doing. We will talk about tomorrow a little bit more what kind of is available to them financially. Yeah, exactly that. With financial fair play, they just can't be splashing the cash. They've got ironically, spoiler for tomorrow, ironically, because of the way Mike Ashley run the club, they're not too bad. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Alpha FPL. And this one, we can kick it forward, James, to next week if you want to. I would love some analysis on Crystal Palace attacking players. They have a lovely run of fixtures between Gameweek 9 and 14. Zaha is the obvious choice, but you've got Gallagher and Lisa and so on. Did you say Mig is on next week with you? He's on COTC next Thursday before they play Newcastle. Which is before Gameweek 9. Now, I know that means you're leaving it a little bit late, perhaps, for your transfer, but Palace players are not the ones that are fluctuating in price massively. So that you'll get a good chance to jump on with Mig there as well. I don't think you're buying Palace player this week. No.
before Arsenal.
No.
If you were, I think it's maybe because it's on your own wild card. And I think, in all honesty, at the moment, if I had to go for one right now, it would probably still be Gallagher. As I said earlier, Edouard wouldn't interest me. I think Elise really is one to keep an eye on. Zaha wouldn't interest me at the price, personally. Actually, ironically, it might be the defensive ones that go really under the radar. People like Tyreek Mitchell,
Anderson.
that perhaps people are just not looking at the moment. I think Gator probably after this week becomes of interest again. But I think I looked last week, and I'd probably go Raya over Gator is what I'd looked at. And I wouldn't bother going for both, I don't think.
No, indeed. Let's pick. We've got one more question left, James, because we've covered off every other big talking point, predominantly being Ferran Torres. And I'm going to give this to Joe Amrabat Man, one of our regular supporters and followers. Seeing as it lost the people's poll vote.
I was going to ask about Watford, aren't I?
What is your opinion on the Munoz sacking and Ranieri appointment? And it has not got a chance of getting in the people's poll vote because the Geordie story is bigger.
Yeah, there was no point putting it back in this week. Sacking from the outsider's perspective looks a little bit odd. It looks odd from the perspective of he came in at Christmas. He really shored them up defensively. They got promoted with an amazing defensive record in the second half of last season, which is why lots of people were talking about Backman and Sia Routers and stuff in pre-season and that. And they are 15th with 7 points from their first 7. If they get 38 points from 38, they'll probably stay up.
Yep.
So what's the massive problem? Well, I'm yet to hear from a Watford fan who didn't think it was the right decision to sack him.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, not that
I've
I've spoken
to a single one. Where we had a gentleman we met at the meet-up on Saturday, a gentleman called Stuart. He's probably not listening because he came to see Andy rather than us. But he is, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, is an elder gentleman who goes regularly to Watford, and he was adamant, the same as everyone else I spoke to, was that he had to go. Yeah. Inept was the words he used, tactically useless, not enjoyable football. Could see with the fixtures that was coming up that they were probably going to get battered every week. That's what they've seen, and it doesn't mean they won't still do under Claudio Ranieri. In terms of the new appointment, well, we've seen it go both ways for Ranieri, haven't we? We've seen the Leicester. We've also seen the kind of already forgotten spell that he had at Fulham that didn't go very well. I suspect, from Claudio Ranieri's perspective, and this would have been the case whoever it was, any manager that doesn't take that job must be nuts. Because you're gonna get 2 years worth of money in about 4 months. They will. It feels almost inevitable to me. I tweeted when they sacked Munoz. I said, how many managers will they have this year? 3 or 4. And that's kind of like my immediate reaction to it. And my immediate reaction to it is I wouldn't be surprised if they have another manager by December. Because the fixtures have got a rough. So if they're going to...
Surely by the time you keep making all these payouts, just get Conte. Because it's going to be cheaper for you.
They've got Liverpool at home, Everton away, Southampton at home. Southampton's the only fixture they've got basically up till like Brentford in Gameweek 16 that you'd look at and they'd really think, gotta win this.
Yeah.
They've got a rough run. So if they lose to Liverpool, lose at Everton, then lose at home to Southampton, they'll already be talking about who's replacing Ranieri.
Yeah.
I think, honestly.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one. I haven't spoken to Watford fans, but I've heard through you and through the grapevine that they are fine with...
We can all take the mickey out of it as well, but actually, and I think people, because Nigel Pearson got sacked right before the end of the season, they got relegated, people were like, hang on a minute. No one really likes Nigel Pearson, but with 2 games to go, that didn't really make sense. So there was a lack of feeling sorry for Watford when they went down, but this model of constantly changing managers has worked for them in the whole... like it's worked for Chelsea historically at kind of the other spectrum of the league. And it doesn't mean that this won't work. I just think he's going in there with a really, really tough job because they're not as good defensively as everyone thought they were, and those fixtures are disgusting. They've got the worst run of any team basically up till game week 16.
Yeah.
And they might be the worst team in the league as it is.
In the lead up to Game Week 8, James, on Saturday, when's the deadline? Saturday, 11:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Shall we let the listeners know what they have to... 11 o'clock, hour and a half, that's it. UK time, of course, because we have listeners in all parts of the world. What do they have to look forward to? We have People's Poll tomorrow, of which there is no poll because we'll be talking about Newcastle.
Did you like the poll I put out?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah, we will be talking about the Newcastle United takeover tomorrow. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football. Thursday's Clash of Correspondents, Man City, Burnley with FPL Pringle Turfy Topper. So you can all dig out Johnny. I'll ask him, what do you think the team's going to be, Johnny? And he's going to go, I don't know. Because no one knows, but he's going to give you his honest opinion on City assets. And I think Jack will give his honest opinion in terms of if he expects to get beat 5-0 or not. I'll be streaming Friday. We'll be later time on Friday, so I've got to look after the little ones. It'll be about 5 p.m. UK time, which means audio won't be out till probably about 6:30-ish. Saturday be deadline stream. On Patreon, we have our Q&A today, which has been a little bit like this one, although it's normally a bit more of a riot on Patreon.
It is.
An additional Newcastle podcast tomorrow on Patreon, looking at the Mike Ashley 14-year reign at Newcastle. I don't want him to have all the joy. I want him to remember some pain. Wednesday will be Tottenham. Suj will be bringing some posh chants to that podcast.
Indeed.
Thursday is a quiz that's being done by one of our patrons, Steve Jones, on promotion to and relegation from the Premier League. And we'll have our Game Week 8 preview differential show on Friday.
Oh, fantastic. If you want to support the show, go on.
And the advanced tier, I was going to say, will include a closer look at Alan St. Maximin tactically on Thursday. Because as I said earlier, he's the high scoring forward, and then around that value, I'm going to look at if I think it will last or not.
So if you do want to support the show and get those additional pods, patreon.com/planetfpl, as well as the shows, you get Slack channel and prize leagues and some other shit as well. Well worth it. Go and have a look.
Patrons, if you're not in the mini leagues, this is your last chance, like this week.
And then it's all closed off.
Well, no, it's not closed. You can still win the manager of the month, but if you want to win the annual prize, you need to be in by this weekend.
Yep. If you don't want any of that patron stuff or to chuck money this way, then that's no problem at all. But do make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, all of that jazz, or YouTube, and hit the bell and do all those things that people say. Slap a like on the video.
On that as well. I'll close this weekend. I'll close the entry to the main
league as well.
The bio, the league code is in the bio.
Yep. If you are in that league and you win it, you get on the pod at the end of the season.
If you want to.
Yeah, of course, if you want to.
Via the Zoom studio.
Indeed.
Unless you live in London, you might want to come and join us.
Come and say hello.
Yeah, fuck it. Come down. We'll do it in a pub.
Good. Enjoy your tinkering this week, folks, and thank you for tuning in and all the support as always. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
It'll be a Norwegian anyway. It's not.
It's
never anyone English.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.